Hello there, and bear with me because I'm going to show you in this video in complete order as much as possible how to master AutoRebar here. For simply here, AutoRebar is an awesome plugin that enables you to make and create professional shop drawings alongside making bending schedule automatically, adjusting your scales and exporting your schedule to an Excel sheet and manipulate data after that. So let's begin on the AutoRebar bundle here. AutoRebar is a plugin in AutoCAD, and in order to make this plugin works, simply you load this and AutoRebar is stable and working. So a quick note, the best option in AutoRebar, or the best version in AutoRebar, is simply AutoRebar 2.1 because you have all the functionalities needed and they are not present in older versions. So I advise you to use AutoRebar 2.1. Let's dive in. I am from Egypt and here we use millimeters and kilograms. The first command here is options, which is super important. You have to adjust your options in order to make your drawing accurate and precise. So let's begin. In the units tab, make everything in millimeters, and range units here you make it in millimeters. If you live in a place that use imperial type code, so that's be it, but I'm using metric or metrics here, metric units here, bear my language please. So everything is in millimeters and unit of mass is in kilograms, not in pounds. Pounds is in the imperial side. After that, you have to make your digits with no floating points. This is what works for me, and you don't play with the scale. 1 to 5 is pretty good. And this is Rebars. You simply make this shown or exhibited in a double line fashion. You can make it thin or thick, but I prefer the double line. And in case of crosshairs type, which is in sectioned bar and sectioned bars, you can make it external or internal. I prefer the external plus sign. The dimensions tab is very important here, and you simply, in my case, I just uncheck include rebar thickness to make my calculations accurate and make my marks appear good and with no additional internal calculations that messes things up. So I uncheck include rebar thickness and I leave draw local dimensions as it is, and after that I adjust my paper text height according to the type of the drawing, whether it is a plan or a section. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller according to your drawing here. So in this case I'm leaving it at 3 millimeters, and let's dive into the stirrups. The stirrups here, stirrup hook position, which is this. You can make it in the top left or top right, bottom left or bottom right. I'm leaving it as it is, top left, and I don't change anything about them. And let's head to the marks tab. The marks tab here is also important, and the first thing is I can adjust my text height. I'm going to leave it now at 3 millimeters, but according to my plan it may change. And the rebar length, calculate the rebar length as I make it the sum of the rebar dimensions, not the actual rebar length, because this is how my calculations work. And you can display your number of rebars, rebar length, your width of the range. You cannot, in some cases, display width of the range if you are drawing the dimension. This is up to you. I'm going to leave it here. And these are your symbols. I use the T symbol. This is Arabic, pardon me. I'm using the T symbol here for diameters, and for spacing I'm using the add symbol. and after that this is called calls, and calls are simply a referral to marks, but they are not calculated in the bar bending schedule. So I'm going to check them all to make them appear in my shop drawing as marks, but they are not marks. After that, font, I'm leaving it as it is, and manage, I'm leaving it as it is. Real-time update of linked options, yes, I want this. So after that I click OK, and this is how I adjust my options in AutoRebar. Let's head on to the drawing section. The drawing section here is made of some commands, which they are Rebar, Polyline to Rebar, Stirrup, Krusty, Chair, Sectioned Bar, Sectioned Bars, Mark, Call, and Bending Schedule. After that, this is an edit section, which contains edit, append, remove, edit scale, which is pretty awesome, exclude selected, exclude all, and the last section is export list. After you made your bar bending schedule and everything in the drawing, you can simply export it for quantity surveying and stuff like that. So let's begin. We are now going to draw something out of scratch, so I'm going to head to Rebar. I click on my Rebar, and here the command says specify diameter in millimeters. I can use any diameter I want, and I'm going to choose 12, which is 1.2 centimeters, and click OK. I specify my start point, and then I draw my rebar. And here it is. This is a rebar which is straight and forward. You can make any forms of this particular commands as you wish. There is another thing in this command, which is you can draw either a straight rebar or a curved rebar or a combination of both. So let's assume I'm going to draw a curved rebar. So I specify my diameter and click OK. I specify my start point, my middle point, and pardon, I made an error here. I want to make an arc, not a straight one. So I click undo, Ctrl Z, and I specify an arc. I simply click A, enter, I do my middle point, my last point, and here I make my arc. This is bending section, hook, undo. I'm not doing bending or hooks. I simply either draw an arc or a line. So this is how I use rebars in AutoRebar. It's pretty actually. Let's head on to the other command. The other command is simply Polyline to Rebar. And Polyline to Rebar is pretty simple. You have a polyline and you convert it to a rebar. So let's assume I'm going to have a complicated form of a rebar, which I made using Polyline. I make a polyline this is for education purposes, but I'm going to show you how to convert this polyline to a rebar. Simply you click on this command, Polyline to Rebar, and you specify your diameter. I'm also using here 12 millimeters, and I select Polyline, and tada! I made my rebar using Polyline. So after that, let's assume I'm going to draw a stirrup. And to draw a stirrup, stirrups mainly are used in beams or columns. So let's assume I'm going to use a stirrup in a beam. So I make a beam using rectangle and dimensions. and this is a beam section. Let's assume this is a beam section, and I'm going to make a stirrup out of this beam. So simply I click on stirrup and I specify its diameter. Let's say it's 8 millimeters, and then I specify my concrete cover, which is in my case 25 millimeters or 2.5 centimeters. After that I click on the two opposite corners of that particular beam, and tada! I made my stirrup. So let's say that I'm going to adjust this stirrup and make it more appealing in the drawing. I make three things which are pretty used here in the edit sections. The first one is I'm going to copy this one and after that I either double click the stirrup or click on edit and click on the stirrup and uncheck display local dimensions and click OK. After that I'm going to edit the scale of this dimension. I either play with options or use the edit scale, which is an awesome tool here. So let's assume we are going to edit this just one here, and I click on edit scale and I select this one. You can select multiple things, but in this case I'm going to select this just only, and I click OK and I enter a new scale. Let's assume it is 15. It's not good. I'm doing it again, and let's say we want it 10, and this is how I can adjust the scale of this particular rebar or stirrup. I can adjust the scale of marks, holes, everything using this command only. So after that, let's dive into the Krusty. The Krusty is used mainly in, let's say, in walls section, and let's assume I have a wall section of 3. Next line, specify a point, I make it let's say a vertical one, and I make an offset of 300, which is 30 centimeters, and I'm going to use multiple commands here to show you. So let's assume I have a wall, and this wall is for 3 meters, and I trim everything unnecessary. Let's assume this is my wall, and I'm going here to draw two things. The first one is section bars, and the second one is Crusty. So in order to make the section bars, simply I calculate two things. The first one is my cover. My cover here is 25 millimeters, and let's assume my original rebars in the cross sections are 16. So 25 plus 16 over 2, which is 8, equals 33. So I offset 33 millimeters either side, this was incorrect. I'm doing this again, and this is my wall. So after that, I'm going to simply draw my section bars. I have two commands for this. The section bar is for a singular sectioned bar, and the sectioned bars is for plural sectioned bars in a row. So I am drawing this array here. I click on that and I specify my diameter. Let's say they are 16. I specify an insertion point and an end point, and this is how it is made. So you can adjust this according to your drawing to make it more appealing. So let's say I am going to make another X line horizontal and trim this section over here. So let's undo this, and I'm going to show you also how to modify this according to your drawing. You can simply double click this, specify the diameter, which is the same, and the spacing here is 200 millimeters, which is 5 bars in each meter. I'm going to make it in 6 rebars for each meter, which is 166 or 165, and I click OK. So after that, to make it more appealing, I'm going to trim my thing and let's say I'm going to add a singular rebar here. I specify my diameter, which is 16 also, and I specify my insertion point and I hit OK. These are the two commands for sectioned rebars. So after that, let's assume I'm going to copy this to the other side or mirror it. So I'm going to mirror this one and this one over here, and it's done. The next thing is the Krusty. So I click on the Krusty, I specify my diameter. Let's say this is an 8 millimeters, and I specify something called hooked diameter 1. I'm leaving it to 20 right now, and the second to 20 right now, and I specify the center here. Let's say I'm going to draw this here. Start, finish, and goodbye. You have drawn your Crusty. So after you have drawn your Crusty, you simply place this in adjusting places in your drawing and you are done. After that, you create a copy of this, adjust its scale, and done. The next thing is the chair. The chair simply is a piece of rebar which is used to lift the top rebars. So let's assume you have a slab. The slab has bottom rebars and top rebars. The bottom rebars are simply lifted by cover, something that can use to make cover. Let's say it is maybe a marble or granite or whatever, plastic maybe, but in order to lift your top rebars and make them in place, you have to use chairs. And let's assume we have a slab of a thickness 25 centimeters, and we just substitute make everything in place, which is making the chair applicable. Anyway, we divide and subtract everything, and after that we make our chairs. So simply we click the chair here, chair command, we specify our diameter. Let's say it is 16, let's say it's 10 millimeters, and we specify feet length, which is the base actually. Let's say they are 12 centimeters, and the body length, let's say it is 10 centimeters, and the body width, let's say it is 13 centimeters, and click OK, specify start point, and this is it. If you see anything wrong, you simply delete this and make it again. So let's say I specify my diameter in 10, my feet length is 12 centimeters, and my body height is 13 centimeters, and my body width is 10 centimeters. I click my start point, and this is my chair. After that, I simply edit the scale and make it appealing. And this is it actually. After we make our rebars, we can also mark them. And the mark section here is pretty important because it's linked to bending schedule and our bar list, which we will export later on. So after that, we are going to mark some of these. Let's say I'm going to mark this one, and let's move this here and mark this also. Mark this one, mark this one, mark this one, and mark this one. So after we are doing this, we are going to learn how to edit our marks. So in order to edit our marks, we have two options. Either to double click on our marks, or simply we select the mark and we hit edit. They are the same. So let's say this is for a slab, and the slab has 6 rebars per meter, and the range of motion, or the range of this rebar, are 3 meters. Let's note it as a bottom. Bottom rebars, and we click OK. We can adjust every mark using this pen tool or this section. This is up to you. And after that, we edit all of our marks. We have to edit them in order to the application they are used in your drawing. And let's say this is for 5 in each meter, for 6 meters, and this is the top one. This is a beam, and this beam is actually can be utilized in section bars. This is a hasty type of drawing, but if you adjust your dimensions well accordingly, you can make them more professional than that. This is a general idea of how to place them here, and this is your actual beam. You make your dimensions, you make your actual rebars, and let's say we have 2 of these. This is for the top and this is for the bottom. Let's say they are 18 millimeters in the bottom start point, and let's say this 3 meters. And for educational purposes, let's say this is 16. You can also edit this. And simply you mark this and this. I have 3 on the bottom and 2 on the top, and I click here 3 bottom beam, and here 2 top beam. I adjust this one, I adjust the place, and after that I'm going to introduce you to the other command, which is call. The call is a referral of the mark. The call, as I'm saying here, I select my mark after I hit the call button, and after that I select the insertion point for this particular call. I'm doing this again for the bottom one, and let's assume we are going to adjust the scale here. So I edit the scale of this and this and make it 15. I move this here and this here, and I adjust this one. Let's say we have an 8 for every meter. They are for 4 meters, and let's note them as stirrups. And this is a chair. Let's assume this one is like this one also. You can link a dimension if you draw like a slab and a dimension, and you link this one to that dimension. I'm going to show you a quick thing about this. I have a dimension here, and I'm going to link it to that particular dimension, and let's say this is a nasty form or an advanced form. I adjust my spacing and it's all calculated automatically. So I place my annotation and make it more appealing. This is an ISO 25. I'm going to make it more bigger. Symbols and arrows, I'm going to make this oblique. 150 or 125, and I make mark text. Also I can make it 100 above, center, left to right, and fit. I make my primary units with no floating points, and I come here again and make this like 75. I click OK and I close. So after that I make all my rebars. Let's say they are 20 of them and they are just stairs. And let's say this one have 15, or just simply 165 over 2, which is 330. This is called Crusty. And I draw this dimension here I'm doing this hastily, but this is for educational purposes. So I link this to this, I hit OK, I edit my annotation to make it more appealing. In lines, I suppress the extension lines. I edit the scale. And I'm done here. So this is how to make your rebars, your stirrups, your crusty, your chairs, your section bar, your section bars, and make also marks and holes. Let's dive into the append and remove section here. So I'm going to draw another rebar, which is 22 millimeters in diameter, and I draw this one. And let's say I'm going to remove this one, remove this edge. So I just click remove and I click this edge, and it's very pretty simple. Let's say I'm going to append another edge to the bottom. I click on append and I hit my dimension here. I click OK, and that's it. So in this case I'm going to mark this also. And make its range. And let's say this is the top one, and I click OK. And this is how I make my drawing. Pretty neat and simple, and you can make use of all these commands in the way I have shown you to make your shop drawing more professional. So after that, after you make all of this, you can calculate your bending schedule and show it in your drawing. You simply click on bending schedule and insert it here, and here it is. This is an automatic schedule for every mark, for every shape, for every length, and its quantity, its mass, and the percentages of total mass, and eventually the notes. At the bottom of this schedule, this is the total mass in kilograms, all calculated automatically. And after that, you can simply save your project, and you can also save your project in a manner that it can be shown to anyone who uses AutoCAD but not use AutoRebar. So how I'm going to do this? I just save my project. Let's say I'm going to save it in my desktop, and I make a new folder. I'm calling it hello. I save it also as a hello, and I save. After that, in order to make your drawing correct, after you explode everything, you have to make your explosions in order, because if you didn't do this, you will face serious errors. So before I'm going to do this, I'm going to export my bar bending schedule to an Excel sheet, and I save it. When I open this schedule, this is another file. If I open this one, it can take time. this is all my rebars in diameters and their lengths, their quantities, their mass, and their percentages, and also their notes. And you can make all of your adjustments and quantity surveyings in this file. So how do you explode everything in the correct manner? First of all, you have to go explode your calls because they are not dependent on anything. You can click on any one and click select similar and click on explode selected. After that, you explode your marks. So I click on any mark and I type select similar and I explode them. After that, I explode this section and this kind of section bars with also any bars possible, and I make the select similar command and I explode them as explode selected. And this is also my drawing. You can see this if you don't have AutoRebar. So I type save as and I can save it as hello exploded. I click enter. So this is how you use every command possible in AutoRebar, and if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to see you next time. Goodbye.